Hello, this is CG Turf, and today I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks in Maya. This is mainly for beginners, people who are just getting started in Maya. So I'm going to be showing you 10 tips, but I think in the future I'm just going to be maybe showing you like the categories, because maybe there might be like modeling tips and maybe for rigging tips and things like that. But for this one, these are just the tips that I feel like they are the most important, especially if you're starting. So the first one is just like, it's actually gonna be when you're actually starting a project. I know that you can actually just start your project in this window and there won't be any problem, but then it's probably best to create like a folder so that your stuff is organized. It might be okay if you're creating something simple, but in the long run, if you're creating like a complicated project, you will need your files to be organized. So what you just need to do when you open Maya, you go to File and you select Project Window. And then, for instance, this is actually the project that I was actually working on. But you can just click New and you can name your project just like that. And then you can also set the location. Usually the location will be the project folder for Maya in the documents, but you can actually click this folder icon and you can actually specify where you want the project to be at. And all these folders, the scenes folders, they will be in one folder. And that way, if you decide to copy the project, or if you decide to move your stuff, to pick up your stuff, everything will be organized. So, and then when you have completed all that, you're just gonna click accept, and then now you're in your new project. So even if you go to save as, it's gonna be saving in your new project, just like that. All right, so that's the first tip. The second one is the undo. If you want to undo, I think if you have Maya for the first time, I think you can only undo about 50 times. But then there's actually a setting that you can change so that you can undo infinite times, I guess, like forever. You can actually undo from the time you started the project, because sometimes you might need to undo that many times. So I just feel like it's better to put it on infinite. So the way you access this option, you go to Windows and you go to Settings and Preferences, and then you click Preferences. And then from here, you wanna scroll down here where it says Undo. Right now mine is already selected at infinite, which is where you want yours to be. But usually it probably will be like this. And it actually gives you the number of undos you can do. I mean, you can change this if you want. Some people, they can put a higher number, like 1,000. But for me, I just put infinite. Maybe it might use up a lot of your RAM, I guess, or maybe your hard drive space. I think I'm not sure about that, but I've never had that problem with my computer. I can always undo. So after you've changed those options, you can click save. But I think while we are on this preferences window, we can also look at the third tip, which is the autosave. If you go to Files /Projects, this one, there's this tab that says autosave, and you can actually enable it. And the cool thing about this, I guess it's actually, if you don't want to do the undo thing, this is actually a better way of doing it, because you can actually tell Maya when to save. I usually have this selected, but sometimes I don't. But I think it's actually good to just always have it enabled, because what it means is for every, for example, it's saying here interval in minutes. It means that for every 10 minutes, it's gonna be saving the current file. That way you don't have to forget to save your files. And that way, let's say maybe you've been working for maybe 30 minutes and then maybe you realize you did something and maybe you forgot to do something and you can't fix that, and you sort of have to undo. So maybe instead of undoing for the stuff you've been doing for the past 10 minutes, you can actually say open the folder that says autosave, and you can recover your you can actually go back to where you were. And I think like right now you can't really change this, I guess, name folder. Yeah, you can actually change it, but you don't need to, because it's just gonna save to your, like, it's just better to just save it to your project. That way it's just simpler. So the next thing would be the manipulator sizes. There's actually an option in these preferences. Let me see if I can find it. But there's also another way to change it as well. But let me see if I can find it. You're supposed to, like, you can actually change the size of your, oh yeah, like there it is, the manipulator size. So for example, if I've got a model in my scene, let me just zoom in like that. So this is the manipulator. Usually I use the minus and plus to change the size, but apparently also in these settings you can actually change with this slider, and you can change all these other settings. But I usually just change it. There will be situations whereby I have to make it bigger or smaller, and I just use my keyboards, the keyboard buttons, plus and minus, and I feel like it's easier this way. But that's a good tip to know. The next one is gonna be the playback speed. We can find this. I think it's the time slider. No, oh yeah, it is the time slider right here. So right now mine is set at 24 frames per second, which is standard. I think it's standard for PAL, I think. But anyway, this is standard. So it means that when you play, like when you're playing something in this time slider, it's gonna be playing at 24 frames per second, which is actually good if you want to see the right timing for animation. But there will come situations whereby maybe you are doing a water simulation, and sometimes Maya won't be able to play back, or actually for the simulation to work properly, especially if you are simulating in your cache or your RAM, you might want to set this to play every frame so that it can process each and every frame, and then you would need to do a play blast and then play it in real time. But then if it's just a simple animation, maybe of a character, you want to set this to 24 frames per second. Or maybe if you actually have like a specific playback speed, you can actually put it manually there, maybe to make it 12 frames per second. If that's what you want, you can also do that. Or maybe 60 frames a second, or things like that. So that's a good tip to know. Let me see. The next one is interactive modeling. Okay, so I guess we can exit this. I'm just gonna cancel that. But if you want to save the settings you've saved, the settings you've made, the changes you've made to your settings, you need to click save. The way you create your polygons, you go to create polygon primitives, and then you create a cube, and then it just appears like that. I usually don't like it to do it this way, because afterwards I still have to change to what I really want. I find it easier for me in the settings. You can actually change the settings if you go to create polygon primitives, and then you just select interactive creation. So what it means is, when you're creating, for example, a cube, it doesn't appear. You actually have to like draw it out like this. That way you can actually like create the exact dimension that you want. If you like it the other way, that's still fine, but I feel like this is the best way to do it, because even when it comes to creating a cylinder, same thing. You create the base first, and then you can decide the height or even the torus. You can create this way, and then you can adjust the thickness afterwards, instead of it just appearing with its default size. Plus, for the cube, it's gonna create on top of the grid. It's not gonna overlap the grid, which is also nice. So yeah, that's a good tip. And then the next one is gonna be the search menu. Now I use this I think all the time, because sometimes someone might be trying to help you. They might say, oh yeah, you just need to go to, like, you just need to circularize those faces. And then you're like, but how do you find the menu? Or maybe you need to extrude. Like, luckily this is an extrude icon is right there. Or you need to go to edit mesh, and you actually need to go to select extrude. Oh yeah, there it is. I almost couldn't find it. But basically, if you go to help and then you click on find menu, and then if I type in extrude and then you hit enter, it's actually gonna show you all the menus that have the word extrude. So in modeling, edit mesh, there's extrude, and you can actually see the path and you can actually go there. What I like about, if you're using like a Mac, what's cool about it is when you click the actual path, it actually opens it for you, which I think it's really cool. Like, I don't know why in Windows it doesn't do that, but I always thought, like, when I used to use an iMac when I was in school, it did that, and that was actually cool because, like, it actually opened. You could actually click this path and it would execute it. But anyway, it's still helpful. So the next thing is gonna be, actually, let's talk about the circularize because this is actually cool. I think this tool is new in 2018, but obviously if you're using Maya 2019 or 2020, it's gonna be standard. So for example, if I create this cube, let me just add some subdivisions here, like that. So okay, so what you want to do is, let's say I want to create a circle here. Just select those faces, and then I'm just gonna hit shift, right click, and then I'm gonna select Circularize Components. It's gonna be like that. So that way, I mean, I can actually hit extrude here, and I can actually go down and I can actually create a perfect circle. And all these components, they are quads, which is why this tool is so cool. It maintains the topology. It maintains the topology, and all these are quads. There are no triangles or pentagons. So if I hit 3, you can see that you can actually create, for example, I think this actually looks like a button, I guess, or something like that. But I think you can get the idea how you can actually create a perfect circle on a cube, because I know that it might be tricky. Or I think some people use booleans, but then when you try to smooth it, it changes the shape, and it's actually just not a good way to do it. When you're using booleans, you still need to correct, because I guess some shapes are complicated. You still need to correct the topology afterwards though. So this is actually a good tip to know. And let's see. Oh yeah, there's this one. Let me actually use this cube since I have it, because the next tip is duplicate specials. I mean, you could do Control D to duplicate, and then if you want more, you know, like I actually used to, like, after I do this and then I select everything and then I duplicate and then I keep on going. But there's a better way of doing it, which is the duplicate special. You go to edit, duplicate special options, and yeah, I had actually done this before just to make sure, but anyway, for example, let's say translate maybe 25 units, 10 of them. I select the number of copies and then I say apply, and it's literally just gonna create 10 copies that are the exact same distance. And I think that's helpful. I mean, you can also do, let's say if I hit 0 on the translate. Oh yeah, by the way, this is X, Y, and Z. So I had done X, so it was going this way. plus X. If you say minus X, it's gonna go the other way. But in this case, if I wanna create them in a circle, I'll then put it on rotate. Maybe in the Y-axis. So maybe I'll put like 50 units, 10 of them, and then I'll hit apply. No, it literally just rotated it in one position. But maybe what I need to do, that's not what I wanted to do. Maybe here when I do 50, I think here I can do 20 so that it moves a bit forward. Yeah, something like that. I think you get the idea. I think you sort of have an idea of the stuff you can do. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think that's good enough. If you say rotate on the x-axis, and I say 35 here, yeah, it's just gonna rotate on one position on the x-axis. But I think you get the idea. So that's the duplicate special. Now the last tip is gonna be animating with extrude. So for example, if I create a cube like this, and then I extrude. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit S each time I extrude. S is a shortcut for setting a keyframe. So if I hit S right now, I'm gonna move it to the 10th frame, and then oh, I made a mistake. Okay, I'm gonna hit S, and then I'm gonna hit extrude. Then I'm gonna move it. I'm gonna move it like this. I think I made a mistake over there. Let me try that again. S. Oh yeah, okay. So you have to hit extrude first, and then you press S to set the keyframe. And I made a mistake again. Like after you hit, okay, let me just go back. Okay, I set a keyframe, and then I'm gonna move to the 10th frame, and then I'll start to move. Yeah, I was confusing myself there. And then when I'm done like this, I'm gonna hit extrude, and then I'm gonna hit set a keyframe, move to frame number 20, and then I'll continue with my extrusion. And then maybe afterwards, while I'm here, I'm gonna select the other faces. I'm gonna hit extrude, set a keyframe on 20, move to 30, and then move. And then I'm gonna hit extrude again, set a keyframe, move to frame 40, and then move. So right now, if I play this back, it's gonna animate my extrusions. So if I hit play, you can see. I mean, this is something that I just made in my mind, but I think knowing how to do this, you kind of will have like a lot of ideas of what you can actually do with this. So, all right, I hope this was helpful for you, and I'm gonna try and share more tips. Maybe I'm gonna try and share tips and tricks every week, I think, and hopefully, you know, they'll be helpful. Hopefully they'll be helpful in your modeling tutorials. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you can get notified when I upload more tutorials. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.